Okay, hello everybody. So, YouTube says we are live. It looks like we have sound. So, welcome to 3 on Thursday. My name is Michelle. This is Crafters Northwest. And today I will have 3 cards for you where you get all the measurements and learn any tips or tricks there might be to putting them together. So, let's move this stuff out of the way because we're not going to start with that card. So I do apologize for the glare on the surface. I'm working on it still. So let's do our easiest one first. Our first 2 cards actually, there's multiple samples, and they can be done with any color that you have, that you like, that you want, whatnot. So I used 3 of the 5 new in colors for the samples. We are using one of the others for actually putting the card together. And then the last color is Shy Shamrock, and it doesn't really work with a flower, but what I could have done is done a white flower and just kind of reversed everything. So here you have the colored flowers with the green stalk and whatnot, so, and the matching base. So what I could have done is a white base, a Shy Shamrock panel here instead of the white, a white flower, the Shy Shamrock stem and leaf, which they all are that color, and then kind of done the same with the sentiment and so forth. But that's not what I did. So let's go ahead and get started. Let me show you what we are using to make this first card. So we are using the sentiments in this set. So these are actually non-stamping cards. There's no stamping on these at all. So these dies are the Wanted to Say dies. So we have Happy Birthday, You're Too Kind, Feel Better Soon, and Celebrate, as well as a present with a bow, another stem and another flower, a cluster of stars, and a cluster of hearts. Okay, so that is that one. So you see that the samples have 3 of the 4 sentiments that are in here, and we are using that last sentiment on the card that we're putting together. Oh goodness. The dies that we're using coordinate with the Simply Zinnia stamp set. So we're not using any of the stamps, we're just using the dies, which I believe are also Simply Zinnia by name, but they would, if you are looking, if you typed Zinnia, they do pop up. So the dies do have, sorry, I meant to show that. So the dies do coordinate with the stamp sets, and then there are a few extra pieces to create the flowers like you see here on these cards. The embossing folder is one that we used last week as well, the Distressed Tile 3D embossing folder. And then our gems are the 2426 in color shimmer gems. So these are sparkly, as you can see. So what do we have here? Oh, one more thing. We have the bordered ribbon in Petunia Pop, which is what I have used on these other 2. I did not get the yellow version of that ribbon. I thought I had, but I did not. Alright, so we have Petunia Pop as a card base. So this is 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. I do have this 4 by 5 1/4 piece, and I do have it pre-embossed, so it is ready to go. I do have another piece of white that is also 4 by 5 1/4. I have all of our pieces pre-die cut ready for us. And then I have 2 pieces of the 24-26 in color 6x6 DSP series paper, which I just said part of that twice. Anyway, all right, so our sentiment is cut out of Petunia Pop. Let me just pop all these out. So these dies do have the shadow to go behind it, so that's very nice. Now, I did not, just purely because I was not thinking when I was doing it, I did not put this on an adhesive sheet. I would highly recommend doing that because that will save you time and frustration when you're going to put this together. So let's do some gluing, shall we? Of course, Otis must make himself known. Alright, I'm just grabbing a block really quick so I can attach or set that on top. I am going to use the precision tip glue Otis, please stop. All right. So just going to add our glue on here. And then try not to get super covered in glue in getting this put down. Ooh, look at that. First try. Alright, so we're just going to let that sit. I do have an extra piece there. Alright. So we have one of each of the petals and the center. And we are going to grab our Petunia Pop ink pad. I know, no, we're not stamping, we're just adding a little bit of ink. And this part is optional, right? I mean, everything really is optional, right? So, okay, so that ink pad is really juicy. So I'm just going to do some circles in the center. to add a little bit of dimension, and I'm only doing it on the petal pieces, not on the centerpiece. And now I have ink all over me. All right, and then we are going to close this so we don't get ink everywhere. All right. Oh, let me close this up before it causes problems. Alright, and we will be using the Tombow glue today as well. So, first things first. Let's add these pieces on. And I don't have an exact measurement that I'm putting this down, but it is about 5/8 of an inch, so you could do 3/4, whatever you would like. And then I'm just going to, well, I did ink on this, I'm just going to use the other side to have for the inside of my card. Save a little bit of paper. Okay, and now we can glue these pieces. Now for the embossed piece, you are more than welcome to use the liquid adhesive so that you have a slightly better coverage, but it's not something that you have to do. All right. Oh no, 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 no. I forgot to put our ribbon on. Such a handy little tool. All right. Ribbon. There is a way to get this off without cutting it, but I've not been very successful with it. Alright, so I know this is not the right placement. I just need to get some ribbon, get it cut off just a little bit. So we're going to line this up about 1 or 2 stripes up. Alright, I did not put glue right there. Okay. Now we can glue it on the front. Oh, I did not tell you the size of this piece, did I? So this piece is 1.5. Yes, 1.5 by 4. And this piece was 1/2 inch. What you saw originally was 1/2 inch by 6 because I just cut it off the paper and then trimmed it down. Okay. So first we are going to do the stem. So we want to make sure to place it so we have enough room for our flower, which obviously has not been put together yet. So right about there is good, and you can eyeball it beforehand or not. That is up to you. And I'm just going to put a dot, maybe a dot underneath that bulb that's right there at the top. Alright, let's try this again, shall we? So just a dot there, and then another dot underneath down here. I put a little bit too much, so it seeped out, but that's okay because we have a knot that is going to go in there. So I use, this is the Take Your Pick tool, and I use the sticky end, which doesn't have very much sticky pointing out because I just tore it off. And so you want to twist it tighter, but just a tiny, tiny little bit, because it will squeeze out, and then it will squeeze out a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more. The other thing is, with it, you do not want to leave it open for like days on end. Because it will dry out. I'm just trying to rotate this daisy or mum or whatever it is. But it will dry out, and then it won't be sticky anymore. Alright, and you can see because I didn't add any ink to the center piece of our flower, it pops out a little bit more because there is ink on the inside of the rest of that. Alright, so I'm just going to grab 2 dimensionals. Now, to me, on this, let's see if I can get it to focus. There we go. So if we're looking at the center part, currently it looks to me as if it's right side up. If I were to flip this around like this, that looks like it's upside down. So it might be the opposite for you or anybody else. And if that's the case, that's okay. Alright, so I am going to tuck my leaf in here. And I kind of wish I'd moved my stem over just a little bit. You know what, I'm just going to have it hang off the card because it should still fit in an envelope. Ooh, maybe not. Alright, I can have it hang off just the tiniest little bit. So I'm just putting a tiny bit of glue on here. And I do want to make sure that that tip of that leaf does not poke out at the bottom. And if you think it might, you can just trim that off so that it doesn't peek through. Alright, so we need some dimensionals. Now on the shadow part of this for the white, I did use thick white cardstock so that it had a little bit more stability to it. That being said, I do still want something up on the top of that F, and I do know that these are too big for that. So I'm going to grab some scissors. I'm trying to look and see what I have cut here. And that, I think, should fit perfectly. I love it when that happens. Oh, and it's perfectly long as well. Nice. Alright, let's make sure we're good. Alright, hello. Garbage container. Hi, Rhonda. Thanks for stopping in. It's been a while. I bet you missed Otis, huh? Alright, so I think I'm gonna pop this one like this. I like how that feels. Alright. So we're just going to take our ribbon and feed that through. And just tie a knot, and I am going to do it over that glue spot that I was telling you about so that we can hide that. All right, and let's add our bling. And our first card will be done. Right there. Well, hopefully you were out of town for fun, Rhonda. Alright, so bring these back in. So this is card 1 with all of those different sentiments, right? Super cute, super easy. You can do them in almost no time at all. Almost. I know it seemed like it took longer, but that's because I gotta talk you through everything and show you all the things. So one of the things I like about this is you don't have to have a ton of paper, and you don't even have to use DSP for these. You could just use a strip of cardstock on the inside, slightly larger strip on the outside, and you could add stamping to it if you wanted to have a little zhuzh to it, but you don't have to. All right, card number 2, like I said, does also use the 24-26 in colors, and we are going to use a blending brush and the ink, right? The ink automatically goes with. And let me show you the cards. So both of these card sets, the first card and this card, have been inspired by other demonstrators. I have put my own take on them, of course, because that's kind of what you do when you are a crafter. So I just wanted to give you kind of an up-close look, although it doesn't want to focus. So again, you can do this in any color that you wanted to, including black, and it's so easy and super cute. And I'm going to move these out of the way because we are going to be playing with some ink. So what do we have? We have Sentimental Park for our sentiment. For You is what we're using. Changing Leaves, not for the stamp set, but for some of the die cuts. These ones specifically. Okay. We are using the Something Fancy dies. We're using this smallest shape here. The Painted Texture 3D embossing folder. And 24-26 in color resin dots. So these are not shiny at all. They have a matte finish to them. So that's really cool. All right. So our pieces today. You know what? I might need to Might need to stamp in a different color, but we're going to try it and see. So we have a card base, same as before. So 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4.25. Then we have a white that is 4 by 5.25. We have a white that's already been embossed that is 3 by 4.25. Yep. And then this one is just an 1/8 inch bigger, so it's 3 1/8 by 4 3/8. This is one of the pieces that I cut off. So I embossed pieces that were 4 by 5.25, and then realized that I actually wanted them smaller, and so then I cut them off. So I'm using them in this side. Well, one of them. I have a whole bunch of other pieces. All right, same concept with this one. I had the piece at 4 by 5.25 or 4.25 by 5, not sure which it was, and this is that same size. All right, so let's go ahead and we'll stamp first, and then we'll ink, and then we'll continue from there. All right, so this is Peach Pie. And I think it might be a little bit light. It might work. I know it's not on the right piece, but all right. I think it'll be good. Don't close that yet. We need that still. All right, so I do have the glass mat here, so I'm just going to work on that. I'm going to grab some ink with my brush, and we're going to start at the bottom and move up. That was a little bit heavier at the bottom than I would have liked, but that's okay. And then as I go up, I'm lessening the pressure of the brush on the paper. So it's kind of, it's not quite leaving the paper white, except for where the embossing is, but close. This looks like a face. Okay. And we're going to do the same for this piece on a smaller scale. Heavier on one side and lighter at the other. Try to make it even all the way across. That is it for the ink. So this is the cleaning cloth that comes with the glass mat. It is wet. And it's just, it's a chamois, is what it is. Okay. And this is just a towel to dry this a little bit faster. Okay. So we need this piece and these dies. And you do not have to do it from the center like I am doing. You could most definitely use a separate piece. I just figured that since it was going to be a layer and since it was going to be popped up, that I might as well just use this piece. The fact that it goes through the little machine is just a happy accident. Though I have found that I do normally need to do that die. I need to run it through a couple times because of just that one spot. Which is not completely terrible because we do need 2 of this guy. Now when I was doing the samples, I was running it through the big machine, so that is not it not cutting is not going to be a small machine thing. It happens to just be a die thing, and sometimes that happens. It's just kind of the nature of how that all works. So just pop out these centers right quick. And I have found, like on these types of dies, if you put your piercing tool, right, if you get an edge started, put your piercing tool like that, and then just kind of slide it. It usually works, but I just managed to push it right back in. That's so funny. So just slide it down. It works beautifully. All right, so just slide it down just like that. Okay. Just one more fixing. It's not even fixing, it's just getting ready, is to banner cut these ends. Now I have found that it is easiest if you center this piece first and glue that on before you do any cutting. And it seems to help. Because remember, I've done it a few different times already. So I've tried a few different things. Hi Dawn, welcome. Right. Rhonda says she was at a class reunion, so that is super fun. Alright, so we are going to put glue on the back side of our inked pieces, of our inked embossed pieces, embossed inked, whatever order that should be. Right? I don't think it really matters. Okay, so remember this piece is only slightly bigger. It should be 1/8 of an inch. And remember, we want our dark at the bottom. Okay, so we will glue this inside, and then we will finish the front. Alright, so we need dimensionals on the backs of these two pieces. So, you know me, if you have seen me in any of my videos, I use a good amount of dimensionals. The good news is, though, I still have not yet gone through a whole pack of them. Oh, those ones are... Let's not use those ones. Well, we will use them, just not right now. Gosh, I went to town on cutting these. These are all tiny. Alright, let's see. Anyway, oh, got to do the other one. Almost forgot. Okay, so we are going to take off the backs of our dimensionals. Not going to do all of them, I'm just going to do the ones on the outside. We'll save a little bit of time. Okay. And then we're just going to center this one right in the middle. And we're going to hope it's straight. Alright, next we need some glue dots. Okay, so I'm going to set this here. I'm going to set it upside down just so that you know that I know that it's not glued down yet. Let's burnish this a bit, see if that will help. Alright, so we're going to have this about here when we're ready to like glue it down, right? So we are going to take our double leaf. So we have a double leaf, a single leaf, and 2 triple leaves, right? So we're going to put 2 glue dots, one here and one here. Not those glue dots. There we go. Now, if you cover it with your thumb or finger, like I did, it will probably stick to you, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But it also makes it, the warmth from your finger makes the glue release from the backer paper. Alright, so when we put this down, we want it to hang off of our embossed panel onto our card base panel, but we don't want it to go off of the card base, right? Gosh, on my screen this looks so yellow. Hopefully it's more correct on you guys' end. Alright, so that's going to be where we want everything to be. So we're going to do the same on the other leaf. Now I did not bother to take out these tiny center pieces because that's going to be tucked underneath and it doesn't matter. Alright, just so you guys can hopefully see a little bit better, we're just going to essentially tuck this about right here. It can hang off, it doesn't have to hang off. That's kind of up to you and how you want that to all kind of play out. So these little tri-flowers like to try to rip because the stems are so thin. So we're just going to kind of overlap but different for them. So these tri-flowers do get 2 glue dots, one for each of the larger flowers, not flowers, leaves. And so these, it does kind of two-fold in that these glue dots attach the tri-leaf piece, but it also then sticks down through the first leaves that we put down. And voila, look at that. We are essentially done. All right. So these ones are a kind of a matte finish, like I was saying before. And I'm going to use 3, 2 large and 1 small. And that, my friends, is that. Bring back in our sample cards. So this would be a super fun set to make, and I could have made it with a Shy Shamrock as well. I just didn't have the time, and with the next card you'll understand. So that is card number 2. Alright, card number 3. I don't have all the pieces just yet for that one. Well, not ready to put together anyway, but let me show you what we are going to use. So we are going to use Country Flowers. We are going to use the Spotlight on Nature dies. Right? Just want to make sure. Yes. And I did use this lined circle. So there are 3 different lined, just straight line circles, and I used the middle size of them. And so I did some stamping and coloring already, and I will show you how I did that. So let's go ahead and cut these out real quick. So this card is going to be a fun fold card. The fun fold itself is pretty, let's call it simple, pretty simple. But it has a fun little unexpected little thing. So these I did color with the Stampin' Blends, and I used oh gosh, I don't even remember. I'll have to look. I was trying to remember, but it wasn't there. Oh, no. I'm going to put this in the case so I don't lose it. Alright, so we have these. We will use those. For the coloring, these are what I used. I know, you can't tell anything. So we have Pool Party in light and dark. We have Gray Granite in light and dark. We have Flirty Flamingo in light, and the Blender Pen. So let me show you kind of what I did, and I won't necessarily do all of the coloring. I'll show you the technique, and then we can move on. And if you guys want me to, at the end when I'm done with the card, I can finish the coloring of one of these so you can kind of see how that goes. So each of these pens have a bullet tip and a brush tip. Okay. For most of the coloring, we're actually going to use the bullet tip. So I'm going to do this, I don't even know what to call it, this piece. So I'm going to start at the bottom of each leaf or petal, and I'm going to flick color to about halfway. If some of it goes past, that's okay. I'm gonna have to show you more than just this one because I need time. between. So this is the dark Pool Party. And then I'm going to take the blends and I'm going to use the brush tip. And I'm just going to start at the base of each petal or leaf or whatever it is. And I am just covering that leaf, going from the bottom to the top on each petal individually. Right, I'm not just doing the whole thing willy-nilly. All right, so that has to dry. It has to. That's just all there is to it. If you don't dry it, it doesn't work. So for a quick next, for our other leaves, I am using the light gray granite, and I'm doing the same thing. I am just going halfway up on these leaves. Okay, easy. And again, that is the light gray granite. Okay, so light flirty flamingo, again with a bullet tip, which is I also used for the gray granite. We are going to do the rose buds, and we're going to kind of keep to the bottom and or outside of each petal. So we are leaving a lot of white space. We're doing that on purpose. Okay. And then I'm going to swap over to the brush, and using that same flicking motion that we've used essentially everywhere, I'm going to color this biggest flower. Okay. Back to our blending. We're going to use a bullet on our buds. And we're going to start at the darkest part of each petal and go towards the white space that we left. This will soften the line that was there. Switching over to the brush for the big flower, and just the same from full color to the white space, individual petals. Okay, so we did not go over the gray granite leaves with the blending pen, but you can. Next up, you know what, I did say that I wasn't going to color it all, and it ends up I need to give time for the other stuff. All right, so dark Pool Party, bullet end. So this one I colored more like a succulent than I did a flower. So full color on the mini daisy on the inside. And then we're going to do the flicking half for the outside leaves. Bullet on the blender on just the outside leaves, petals, whatever. Okay. Oops. And then again with the dark, we're going to come in again with a bullet, and we're going to do that center daisy again. So we're just adding a layer of color there. And we're going to do the center dot as well. Okay, and then we're going to swap over to the light, and we're going to use the bullet end. And we're going to go back over here to our first guy that we did, and we're going to do the flick motion again, but we're only going to do it halfway up the color that we did before. So essentially we're going to stick to a quarter. And that creates a gradient of color on your leaves. And then we're going to do the same thing on our succulent. Alternatively, you could do the whole succulent petal, the outside one, in the lighter color. And then, let's take the dark gray granite, and we're going to do the center of the large pink flower, and also 2 dots in the center of the succulent. And we're done coloring. So this is what we end up with. Okay. Now we have we have some of our pieces. So we have our white for the inside. Now we have lots of flowers, and then we have 4 of those circles. Now I have 2 of them cut from thick white cardstock, and 2 of them from just white cardstock. Okay, and I'll show you what we're gonna do with those here in just a second. We need a card base. So I'm gonna grab some thick white. And my paper trimmer. And we are going to cut this at 5 1/2. I'm not doing any scoring first. Okay, so now we have that same card base that we've had for all of our cards, and it's 8 1/2 by 5 1/2. Okay, so we need to do some scoring, and so normally we would score at 4 1/4, and we don't want to do that. We're going to create a gatefold card, and so we need, let's see, 4 1/4 is 2 1/8. So we need to score at 2 1/8. Score, not cut. And simply because I don't want to do math, we're going to flip that around, and we're going to do 2 1/8. Alright, so if we did good math, this fits in there perfectly. And it does. Hooray! Okay, so we have 8 1/2 by 5 1/2 scored at 2 1/8, and anyway, so 2 1/8 in from either side. So I'm going to I am going to do that again and press a little bit harder, because this did not 2 1/8. Wait. Let's go ahead and say. I forget sometimes that you have to press decently hard on the scoring blade for it to score. So our pieces do not line up quite perfectly. So what I'm going to do is I am going to put them up against each other and re-flatten this fold. And I might even actually come in and shave off just the tiniest bit, but I'm going to wait on that. All right. Before we get there, let's cut our paper pieces. So I'm going to use maybe, I would like some of my favorite piece, please. I think I have to cut from a new piece. This is my favorite piece in this whole pack. Alright, so I know that I want this to be 5 1/4 inches tall. Alright, and we know that they are 2 1/8. So we need this to be 1 7/8 inches tall, and I wanted to do these the other way. I wanted it to be this way. Well, gall darn it. Alright, let's do that. 5 1/4. Not an ideal way to use your paper, folks. Alright, 1 7/8 times 2. Alright, because we need 1 on each side. Sorry, I know you can't see those measurements up at the top. I apologize. Alright, so these are going to go on the front. They will go just like that. Before I glue that though, let's put on, let's make our other little mechanism. Okay. So we are going to take our 2 not thick white pieces. So these are not thick. Okay. And we are going to fold them in half. I could have you score them and blah blah blah, but honestly it is just easier to fold them in half. Okay, and then we're going to burnish them, so take your bone folder and burnish them really well. Okay, next we're going to take one of our thick pieces and we're going to have the backside facing up. And we're going to take one of our folded pieces and we're going to curse at our glue. Oh, look at that. Oh my goodness. Silicone tool to the rescue. Yeah, let's put a little bit extra on there. Bring that silicone tool back again. And then use that to kind of get out to the edges, but not, hopefully, go through the lines. All right. And we are going to line up an edge. And then give that a burnish. Now, there is some glue that seeped out here, and we want to make sure that that... Okay, hold on. Am I doing that? Okay, yes. Whoosh. I just thought I was doing it wrong. Alright, so we're going to do the same thing on the other side with the other folded piece. Now you do want to be careful because with these die cuts specifically, because you don't want to glue this closed, which you could easily unintentionally do. Alright, so this one we are going to line up and hopefully that matches on the outside, but if not, that's okay because we can trim it. Alright, so this is when you want to double check and make sure that things do or do not need to be trimmed. Try not to trim your top piece, but only the under pieces. But you don't want to trim it so it looks ugly because they're still going to be kind of seeable. Alright, I'm going to call that good. Alright, and then we are going to take our other thick white piece, add our glue. Oh, I just got that everywhere. Goodness. And then line that up. I have glue on my fingers, that's why we're having some specks there. So I'm going to, this does need to be trimmed. This part decided it wanted to stick out after the fact, and that's okay. That happens. I think that's because I didn't get it quite lined up just right. That's okay. Let's let that sit for a little bit. And we need a sentiment. So I'm thinking maybe thank you. Let's look. what? Let's just stick with the set we're already using, and let's do Sending Love. Alright. Let's see. Do we stick with white for our banner, or do we use a color? And if so, what color? Decisions. Alright, so let's save those for later. Alright, how much space do we need? So we need 3/4 of an inch. Nope, that didn't work quite as well. Alright, that's okay. Alright. So let's stamp on some scratch first. We use our Memento Black, which is what we stamped the flowers in. Well, it's what I stamped the flowers in because I did that before the video. I also freshly inked up the ink pad right before. Alright, so I'm not sure how big this piece is. I'll measure it here in a second. I think it's 4 1/4 inches, which is bigger than what we need. Perfect. Close the ink pad so we don't mess anything up. So yes, it is 4 1/4 inches, which is bigger than what we need, but that's okay. So let's test our mechanism. Alright, so opens on that side and opens on, oh no, did I glue it closed? No, okay. Oh, I tried to though. Maybe use not liquid on this one. Alright, so I have our card like this, right? And our piece does this. So we're going to slide trying to figure out how to be able to show you on camera and actually do it as well. There we go. So hopefully, so we're gonna just slide or not. There we go. All right, so you can see this is why I made the statement that I might trim off a hair on these because of this. So this, I cannot make it be flat. So let's go ahead and take this off. All right, this is super sticky. So I'm going to actually bring in my embossing powder and run that over. And then that embossing powder will stick to whatever glue is there and it won't be sticky. Okay. So we are trimming off just a hair. So when I say a hair, I mean just a tiny little bit. To that side, I'm going to do it to both sides. It'll probably work better if you make sure that your trimmer is fully closed before you bring your blade down. And again, just a hair. So it does leave a slight gap in the card, so if that bothers you, maybe don't do this. All right, line this up again. Why is this being so difficult? So it still doesn't want to quite fold flat. So let's go ahead and just refold the lines like we did earlier. Okay. So we're going to add our paper. Hold on. Let's make sure it still fits really well. This is going to be much easier to do without this. Lovely. Is it the exact same? No, and that's okay. So I do want to make sure that we attach these in the same direction. Okay, so they go together like this. So that means we kind of want to keep them that way. Stop. All right. We don't really have anything for the center, although we do have some extra flowers. So we could add a flower on there. I always put a white panel in. It does not matter to me if it is already a white card. So maybe we will add this down here. Maybe trim off that one leaf just to make it work a little bit better. Beautiful. All right. That was not supposed to happen. All right. So I'm trying to make sure I don't have any glue on the outside pieces. Apparently I did not put enough powder. You do want to make sure that you don't like bend the fold the front or back circles, because then the locking mechanism will not work. And if you'd like, and actually probably would be a good idea, you can put a pull tab, like a ribbon loop, so that people can see fairly easily what to do, so they can actually get their card open. I promise it's only this hard because I'm trying to do it on camera. Okay. Alright, so there we have our piece, and then we have our flowers. So we are going to have them kind of hang off the top and the bottom, and think I'm going to pull out the Stampin' Seal Plus to put these babies on. So if you wanted, you could most definitely add in some more leafy options. I should just not mess with things that are better left alone. Can I pull these in? It wasn't yet permanent. Hooray! This is why you should lay things out completely before you go sticking them down. Alright, then, so that will be our sentiment. I think I'm going to trim off. It'll end up being about 1/2 inch from either side. Perfect, and then I will put a banner cut. Now how deep or how shallow you make your banner cuts is 100% a personal preference. I know that I like mine to be fairly shallow, and I know that a number of ladies that come to my workshops like to cut them really fairly deep, actually. Perfect. Let's find some dimensionals on this desk and add these on here. So I want to make sure to not come out too far on the edges, because I don't want to glue the sentiment to the front of the card so you can't get into the inside of the card. Okay, I think it needs a little bit more color. So what I'm going to do is this piece that we did, this was what was left over after these pieces. Oh my gosh, I did it upside down. Rhonda, are you sitting there yelling at me? I hope so, because oh my goodness. Alright, we'll get to that here in 1 second. Alright. So we have, oops. We have a 1-inch piece. And I think that does a good job of adding a pop of color. And I think I will kind of angle cut that here in a moment. This is twice today that I've had to use this little tool. So if you don't have one, I would recommend getting one. All right. Dawn, were you yelling at me? Was anybody yelling at me? All right, that is the right way. So let's do okay. So what I did is I cut off this end and I put that piece, it's right here, so that I can have the exact same slant on the cut. Like that. Okay. It's just a little pop of color. And voila, that is our third card. And we're still just at an hour and a half. That's not too bad. So, this card, it does get easier the more you move your slider up and down. If you do put more powder in it, that will help. If you do not have any glue residue, that will help greatly as well. So if you do this and you don't like how it ended up, right, if it's not closing how you want it to, then what you can do is take some DSP or some cardstock, whatever coordinates. So in this case, I probably would take, right, some of this blue, and I probably would make sure that it goes this way, and I would cut, say this one is 1 inch, I'd probably do 1.5 inches. I don't think I would do 2 inches. And it would need to be obviously larger than this piece. Actually, it wouldn't need to be much. It wouldn't need to be a lot larger. So you can do it with 6 3/4. It would be easier if it was a little bit longer. Okay, but say you don't like your mechanism. It's not working for you. You can't get it to work. Whatever. Okay. Take this as it is. Cut your piece. You know what? Let's do it. Let's just do it. Oh, right in the glue. All right, so let's do 1.5 inches. You know what? I'm gonna need you to yell louder next time, or type it at me. Okay, so we have our card. We have our gatefold card. We have our locking mechanism that we've decided that we don't necessarily like how that's working, right? Okay, so we're gonna take our 1.5 by 7-ish, right? 6 3/4, 7 inches. Right, we're gonna put we're gonna put right side down, and then we're going to center our card on top. So you can see we don't have a whole lot of space on either side. Okay, that's okay. And we're going to use our fingers, maybe. There we go. Okay, let's make sure this is straight and this is straight. And then we're going to fold. We are not going to make this be a super tight fold. In fact, we're going to push it out ever so slightly. Okay, we're going to not let anything move. We're going to go to the other side and we're going to do the same thing. Okay, then we're going to test and make sure things are moving smoothly. Okay, then you can use Stampin' Seal Plus, or you can use some tear and tape, either way. Okay, and you're going to add this on. So just for giggles, let's see if we can get this pulled out. Okay, so that's essentially centered. So I'm going to let go of one side. So we can see this is how much space we are going to have to add our glue. Okay, so you can do it on your band or you can do it on your thing. I would suggest doing it on your band. Right, we know now about how much that is. It's going to be less than 1/2 inch, so tear and tape is actually going to be perfect. So let's do that. So we want to put this on the the side that we want to show. Okay. Quick burnish. Add it back to our card. We're going to peel off one side. And what's that going to be? Well, this is going to be super close on coverage. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to roll in these outside corners of the glue. off. Roll in those corners. And down. And now you have a belly band with no seam on it because the seam is on the inside. So there you have two different ways that you can close your card. If you're going to go with the band, then you won't need to cut any smidges off of the middle here and you'll be fine. So, all right, that is card number 3. So, oops. All right. Card number 1, card number 2, and card number 3. So you guys will have to tell me which card style is your favorite, and if it's 1 or 2, which of the colors is your favorite of that style of card. So thank you so much for joining me. I'm here every Thursday with measurements and how to put these cards together. I tell you what products I use so that you can make it exactly the same if you'd like, or you can use what you have on hand. So I cannot wait to see how this inspires you, and I will see you guys next week. Thanks. Bye.